Greetings, Shining Bulls and Shining Bears, and welcome to the second episode of the Crypto Astrology Podcast, which is a weekly offering. We're going to take a look at what this coming week holds for Bitcoin and Ethereum price, first off. But first, please always feel welcome to check out the Shining Bull website, where I have offerings for all suns, from trading signal service and portfolio reports to Vedic astrocartography, a partner's reading, and a one-question service, as well as all of my predictive books. And if nothing on my site is within your price range, then simply hit the notifications bell so you don't miss this podcast particularly, and sign up, follow me on Twitter, because on both of these I often offer very valuable free information. So now let's take a look at what this week holds for BTC and ETH price. So I, the astrologer, live in Newfoundland. So all of this is in Newfoundland time, which is its own unique time zone in this world. Firstly, Sunday in Newfoundland, due to Moon's transit in relation to Venus, and later due to Moon entering into Gemini, it does look like there's a downward movement that initiates across markets, which will only be correctional in nature. But then, starting Sunday late night, there is a hard directional change, and I see it moving up in a drastic manner. Okay, that's Sunday night. And then regarding Monday, I want to let you know that on Monday early morning, there is high political intensity and a drastic, brave decision which is taken, which will shift our financial landscape. And expect Monday to be dramatic. Due to Jupiter and Rahu's closeness in the sky and the relation between Sun and Mars in transit, the end result should be upwards in the markets, financial markets, likely upwards with fireworks. Be prepared for Monday. Okay, then Tuesday, which is the Bitcoin pizza birthday, as Sun returns to Bitcoin's natal position, optimism will take us further up. Moon is also going to be transiting closely with Venus in Gemini, and this feels quite nice. Then we continue upwards this week, and my only other notes are that on Thursday, political leaders, CEOs, leaders, and administrators, and also if you're a corporate, like if you lead a team in your profession, these people will gain more strength. And on Friday and Saturday, Ethereum especially, so ETH price especially, benefits from an upward move. And a lot of focus will be on Ethereum, the platform. Now, by the way, before I go on, I also just published the Ethereum by 2026 long-term price prediction book. I also have the Bitcoin by 2026 long-term price prediction book. And if you're buying any of my books, please look carefully, because I have a lot of bundles so that it's cheaper for you. I have all kinds of bundles to make it cheaper. Okay, so then only other things before we move on to the news are that for my traders, the bonus for signing up to Fairdesk with my affiliate link is now higher. It's up to $100,000 in trading bonus. And also for those of you who are high volume professional traders, check out my trading signal service. Especially, yeah, this week is going to be interesting. Okay. So now let's move on to the news items. First, I'm going to tell you about the astrology behind the Ledger hardware wallet drama this past week, as well as a little bit about the future of the US dollar. By the way, like the first news piece also has some important information for like VCs, like people who are investing at early stages in projects. So let's start with Ledger, okay? So Ledger, on Monday, May 15th, the hardware company Ledger launched a new proprietary offering called Ledger Recover, which is going to be a monthly subscription service where users pay Ledger to shard their seed phrase thrice and then send those encrypted shards to two of their partners, keeping one for themselves, for Ledger, so that if somebody loses the seed phrase who subscribes to Ledger Recover, that person can recover it by presenting their national government ID. So, Monday, the day that Ledger Recover launched, was the very day that Mercury turned direct. Mercury had been retrograding towards Rahu, but Mercury turned direct before reaching Rahu, before hitting the degree point of Rahu. Now, Rahu is a corrupting force, which when combined with Mercury, of course, Rahu can also bring good things, and Rahu can even be spiritual. So Rahu is not always corrupting, but is often, very often corrupting, okay? And when combined with Mercury, Rahu often creates situations like technology-enabled white-collar crime, for example. And that's because Mercury is the intellect and is very active in people who are very clever and mentally quick. But Mercury is also easily influenced by the other grahas. Meanwhile, Rahu likes to influence other planets very much to act in order to get fast and lucrative results, but often not in an ethical or correct type of way. Okay, so very interestingly, Mercury, as I said, never hit or passed Rahu before turning direct on Monday. And if we extend an important principle of Nadi astrology, this means that Mercury did not assume or internalize Rahu's corruption. And so keep that in mind. So in the following days, as Moon traveled in Aries from Jupiter to Mercury in the sky by way of Rahu, the collective crypto consciousness became highly perturbed by this new initiative of ledgers, asking itself whether this same process that the same processes that were going to enable ledger resolve could have theoretically enabled the private keys to be, the private seed phrase to be retrieved and accessed by external parties via firmware updates all along, like as though we never even really understood how this thing is working. So in the end, there was no global consensus confirming this initial fear. And this is because Mercury never passed Rahu, as I said, while retrograding before turning direct. Instead, another narrative came forward that on Ledger, the private seed phrase is always protected by the simple fact that it can only be accessible if the owner approves it. And Mercury barely having escaped Rahu's corruption in his retrograde represents that final barrier of the person having to approve before their seed phrase is accessed by the operating system of Ledger. Okay, so that's just to show you how the astrology is literally creating the reality. Okay, and I hope that as you continue to watch my podcast, you start to sensitize yourself towards what I'm trying to help you to see with these details. Okay, about reality. So another narrative also came forth, which is that in the end, we have always implicitly trusted Ledger or most existing hardware wallets because technically there are multiple ways for the maker of the wallet to access our secret seed phrase if they really wanted to. So this knowledge was brought by the fact that Moon, in those days preceding the initial launch of Ledger Recover, traveled from Jupiter, as I said, the greater knowledge, to Mercury, who signifies in this case the secret seed phrase, because Mercury's communication, Mercury is that lighter form of technology, such as represented by lithium, for example. Okay, so what I noticed is that when all of this was happening, Mercury was also transiting under the almost exact third drishti of Shani, Saturn. Saturn, the ruler of the natural 11th sign of Aquarius, a sign which is related to how society or a collective functions together as a whole, is transiting in a nakshatra right now, specifically related to secrets. And Saturn, who is fundamental to the success of the crypto industry, Saturn loves crypto, intends for this trend of splitting up trust between various members of the collective to continue to be prevalent in new advances related to secrets or seed phrases. Keep that in mind. So what I see is that in November, and here investors start taking note. So in November of this year of 2023, when Mercury enters into Saturn's 10th drishti in Scorpio, very soon after Saturn finishes retrograding and turns direct in the Scorpio pada of Dhanishta nakshatra, there will be a lot of new developments and research specifically related to how seed phrases travel. And this is because Mercury will be in a nakshatra specifically related to how, in fact, semen, which can be related with seed, merges with other semen. Yes, indeed. It's related to how the Lords Mitra and Varuna's semen combined in a pot, and two sons emerged from this pot, which was an earthen pot. And they were both so Mitra and Varuna were both in love with the same woman, Urvashi, and at the same time these two were both great friends. So this was the result. So Jupiter, soon after this, starts retrograding in the zone that Mercury was in when all of the ledger intensity first ensued. So again, soon after that point in November, that's when Jupiter will start retrograding in that zone where Mercury was when all of this was set off, okay? And when Jupiter turns direct at the very end of December of this year of 2023, I see that new solutions, specifically regarding seed phrases and how they act in and between wallets and how they are treated in the cases that when they are being split up between parties to allow for retrieval in the case of their loss. So there will be likely a new hardware wallets or technologies that come to the forefront. Again, at the very end of December of this year, and those will be including those which will hash biometrics, and also Ledger themselves. The company will likely have some new ideas to put forth into the space. So in any case, for VCs, it could be important to take note of this. Okay. So next I'm going to talk to you about the US dollar. And we're going to start off by talking about Tether. On Wednesday, May 17th, right as Moon was transiting Jupiter in Aries, so a lot happened around those few days in the middle of May last week. So Wednesday, Moon was transiting Jupiter in Aries, and Tether, who issues the stablecoin USDT, announced that every month starting this month, they will be buying Bitcoin with 15% of their net realized operating profits in order to build up their Bitcoin reserves. On this same day, news came out about Iraq deciding to ban USD transactions within Iraq. So this is about USD. I'm giving you another example related to the US dollar. And that's because they want their people to transact in the Iraqi dinar in order to strengthen their own currency. Okay, so quite a while back, I released a crypto astro news video about how when Jupiter transited Pisces, it was creating a situation where nations and groups would start to move away from the US dollar in order to strengthen local currencies. In this video, I mentioned that the standard USD stablecoin peg will also start to shift. Now that Jupiter, the Graha who determines policy, such as governmental policy, has finished in Pisces and has re-begun his journey of the zodiac at the beginning, Aries, different countries and organizations such as Tether are taking action on the plans that they made when Jupiter was in Pisces. Already, China, Russia, Brazil, India, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE are using their own currencies in trade. But I see that in the case of Tether is a little bit unique because they are the issuers of an alternative US dollar, and they are going to start fortifying their reserves in Bitcoin, the reserves of USDT in Bitcoin, which is the new digital gold. When the US itself doesn't back USD, the US dollar, with gold, let alone Bitcoin. This is a very important moment. Okay, and the reason I want to bring all of this up right now is because in the United States chart, beginning at the end of March of 2025, when Saturn enters Pisces and coincides with Rahu there, the US dollar is going to start weakening. And it's partly due to Bitcoin's adoption in global trade and reserves. And Pisces is the USA, Pisces where Saturn and Rahu will coincide, is the USA's second house from liquidity, second house of liquidity. And there's going to be more details you can see on this in the Bitcoin by 2026 book. But basically everything that has been initiating over this past year regarding various countries foregoing the US dollar for their own currencies, as well as other countries and organizations deciding to build up their Bitcoin reserves, is going to affect the United States severely beginning in the second quarter of 2025. And I see that the United States needs to think much faster on its feet, because the ball is already rolling and a new type of thought will be necessary in the near future.